Like, this is the most openly racist that America has basically covertly been since the 50s, since before integration. And we all have Trump to thank for that, because he told you he was about transparency, and he was going to drain the swamp, and he was going to make everything known that these dirty people was doing, and he did, including himself. You know what I'm saying? That's more than Barry did. Look, niggas are so tired. Niggas so through with Barry. His own brother done posted the real birth certificate through Twitter. Just totally just you know what I'm saying? Just like whatever with this nigga. You know what I mean? You know how many years they was going in on his birth certificate? Where the real birth certificate? Why don't y'all just go ask his brother? You know what I'm saying? His brother had it. His brother posted that shit right on Twitter like nothing. Like, see, he was born in Hawaii, but like I told y'all, he was born in Hawaii, Kenya. You know what I'm saying? So again, he not lying. He just not clarifying the truth. You know what I'm saying? And that's the game that they all play. You're at a stage now where black people are openly claiming to be Marxists and communists and stuff like that. And these openly black people that are talking about that, they're talking about, they think that it's time for them to stand up and do what they need to do, and in the process support all liberation. But see, that's exactly what happened before with the so-called Panthers and all that. They killed all the original Panthers, just like they did with the original BLM. Big up, rest in peace, Gat, who started BLM. One of the last real posts on it, he posted it after he stepped away from it and told y'all it's all run by Twitter people and gay, homosexual, and transsexual men, and black women who hate men, lesbians. But this is just a harken back. Excuse me. This is just a harken back to the original. This is just a harken back to the original. Traumatized. Took the core out of it. Sorry. Okay. The original. The original production that they started it with had to have original people that were really with the movement, like Bunchy, like Little Bobby, like Fred Hampton, like his wife. You know what I'm saying? Once them people was phased out, then they could bring in the other people that they could control. Eldridge Cleaver, who wrote Soul on Ice, and he wind up going from going against the man, showing up on the city hall with the guns, right? At the California State Capitol steps, showing up with the guns. He went from that, going against the man all them years, to marrying a Caucasian woman, becoming a tenured professor, and becoming a political strategist for Ronald Reagan. That's like Angela Davis marrying, going through all of that, talking all of that, right? And then winds up what? Becoming an ultra feminist and marries a white woman. Right? Look at Bobby Rush. Look at Bobby Rush. Yeah, just like Raven Simone, right? In the height of so-called Juneteenth, this whole Juneteenth thing everybody going through, on the height of that, she gonna marry some Caucasian chick, right? But again, this is what has been happening for hundreds of years, man. Those of us that are annoyed by stuff like that are the ones that see the obvious pandering that's going on with it, so we become somewhat numb to the overall circumstance. So whatever they can do to keep those type of people in the mainstream is what they're gonna do. And so once the op didn't work with the virus and all of that, once they found out that this was all basically run through a bunch of scientists that was doing tests out of the lab at Fort Detrick, who were also working with chemists out of Stanford University, CIA, as well as Berkeley, CIA. And all of those guys have been indicted. All of those people have been arrested. Look it up. because this goes back to this unholy relationship between the WHO, the Nazis, the Chinese. You see what I'm saying? The paperclip generation, which infected the so-called baby generation, right? And instilled all of the psychotic and psychopathic drugs and stuff that America's society became after World War II. After World War II, Nazi Germany was firmly implanted in America through nihilistic capitalism. Nihilistic capitalism means we're going to spend ourselves to oblivion, and we're going to ransom whatever we can to do it. You ever think that with all of this human trafficking, with all of this organ harvesting, with all of this cannibalism, with all this, but you don't think that there is some sort of cross-pollination going into the retroactive of these viruses? The thing that creates these viruses is coming from the fact that they are now serving people, and it's legal now. You dig what I'm saying? So it's becoming more and more hard for them to move agendas and ops in a particular manner because there's so many people now aware for the fact that there are actual websites like protestjobs.com or American Crisis Actors on Facebook. Like people are literally being paid to go and shoot and kill people and act like they can get off because it was a job that they signed. That chick OAC that they got at the Congress chick, the chick that's talking about the new Green Deal, the crazy Cortez chick, that chick was a straight actress. She answered an ad in the newspaper for an actor who was going to portray somebody in Congress. Look it up. It's real. And she got the job, and she basically reads the script for the DNC because they have the right to use propaganda in real time. You understand? That's why they don't refer to wars as wars anymore. They refer to it all as theater or combat theaters. Because there is no real enemy. The enemy is the guy acting like he's not the enemy. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what's going on. You're in an open live fire exercise. And it was said online. It was said in front of the so-called president, their president. So with all of this going down, you know what I'm saying? It all comes into the view of where you stand politically now. Understand? Like this is the most politicized so-called black people have ever been. Again, you can contribute that to this guy Drumpf. Why? Because he polarized the racism to such a fever pitch in this country that all it can do is fester amongst the people who have the most, feel they have the most to lose. And that's Caucasian people, because deep down, they all know that how they've been living for the past 240 years is despicable and was not, and this is not their country. This is not to say they don't live here now and stuff like that, but in the end, that's not really the point. The point is you who are not an American, who's only been an American for the past 20 years, come and tell people who have been here for over 385,000 years where they can live and how they can be. And that can be quoted directly from the matrilineal research that they did on the so-called black man from the study out of the University of South Carolina. You can look that up too. So these are the definite facts. This has, so you could say, oh, well, those are Indians, those are more. I don't care what you want to call this original man and women that was here. What I'm saying is, regards to what you want to call them today and what you hung up on being called today, they was here, which means we was here because they was us. I was speaking to a brother, and he was striving to find his Arawak ancestry, and it was like, well, I said, well, go to the oldest people in your family and where they eventually originated from, and then ask them who was there before them. And so he did it and came back, was like, yeah, well, I did that. And she said, well, it's funny, she lived in the oldest places, Arawak, whatever, but you don't remember anybody there, you know, like that before them, before they were moved. I said, because she's the Arawak. That means it's her. You see what I'm saying? That's how simple it is. That's what happened. What happened to the original people? Where did they go? They got moved to Brooklyn. They got moved to Long Island. They got moved to Jersey. This is what happened. What happened to the people that was in the Pueblos and the Anasazi culture and the Hopis and all that? Oh, well, they got caught up in what later became the Spanish American War, and they shipped them over to California, and then replaced them with the mestizos that they had brought up from the war that was left over fighting for their freedom from Spain. Easy. Where did the people who built the Egyptian pyramids go? Oh, they got shipped over to the other side of the world. You see what I'm saying? That's why there's so many pictures of us in these statues and stuff that we keep finding. They look just like us or look like people that's walking around today. Because it's those people. It ain't just the celebrities. They don't got no secret elixir that's keeping them alive for 100 years. The most they doing is generational cloning. And the most they're going to get out of that is 7 generations. After 7th generation, the protoplasm can't retain the hemoglobin. So it starts to break down and coagulate. It can't sustain the hemoglobin, and it can't coagulate, which means clot the blood. So they basically turn to mush, like the character in X-Men, the first movie with Magneto, when he turned the nigga to jelly. That's their future. That's you know what I'm saying? Like that's what they got. This you know what I'm saying? They not like us with the canopic jars. With them canopic jars, it was if we were still there, we could resuscitate ourselves and leapfrog into the future like that, based on how well preserved these things. Ramses and them, when they finally opened the bodies, some of the mummies immediately got cancer due to the air and being around these devils, breathing on them with their trichnosis breath and everything else. You understand? We've always been here. Anybody telling you from somewhere else is most likely from somewhere else trying to get you to give up what you already was. You know what I'm saying? Senator Kelly, thank you. Yes. It's fake. It's all fake. It's fake. So even the deaths be fake. And that's what's sad. This is why I'm saying you got to protect your emotional heart chakra, your heart chakra. Your heart, according to the 101s, that's where Allah lives. So they keep doing things to tug at your heart because that's another stab at Allah. Understand? That's also the Leo frequency. So the more your heart wrench, the more you open up your heart for that, the more your heart get broke, and the more this world just kill you with sadness. If it don't kill you with nothing else, it's sadness. If you let it, you know what I'm saying? If you let it, it will. If you understand that the devil is so much the devil that he went on TV and he said that these black people that you done found hung since this George Floyd thing done hung themselves so they could start the race war. So they committed suicide. This is how sick these people are. And you expect that you could live amongst these people? You really think you could still live amongst them with all that has come out? Wait till the real stuff come out. I pray to Allah, give me the strength for the stuff you haven't revealed to me yet. You know what I'm saying? Give me the strength to deal with that. Because this shit is enough. But getting to the reality of it, everybody grasping the elephant's tail, saying they got their hand around the whole thing. They all lying. It's all fake. All the celebrities are fake. They've always been fake. We've been saying it for years. So yeah, they can be conscious now. You know what I'm saying? And through the whole, like there was a whole thing about these rappers going at each other, this chick going at this rapper J. Cole because he was out there looting and all that. Like, come on, man. So in the middle of the revolution, you want to make diss records against them. This is what I mean. And again, the people get caught up in that. See what I'm saying? Because again, when you have no roots, you cannot grow. And original people have reached the point where they can no longer grow with no roots. So you either got to plant it in something, believe in something. I don't care what it is. If it's the white Jesus, then whatever. Say what you want about Candace Owens. I don't like that devil neither, whatever. But I'll tell you this. She's convicted in her devilishment. She's convicted in hating black people. And you know what she stands on. You know what I'm saying? So regardless to whether I agree with it or not, regardless to whether I think it's a troll, you know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with the fact that there's an audience and people respond to people who speak on a voice and sound like they know what they talk about. You understand? You have to understand that the psychological operation has never changed, and it's always been to get you to devalue yourself, denationalize yourself, reduce yourself, so that way you do not look around you at what is really yours. Look, this is from a book called Moorish Period in North America. Later, we will visit some ruins in North America that have been radiocarbon dated to the Moorish period. It is also interesting to point out that the Moors were amalgamated into the Grail religion, meaning that they brought the Moors into it because the Moors are the keepers of the so-called Grail, which is the line of blood that goes all the way back to the original creator. And that blood type is O. That's why we're the only ones with it, and everybody else is trying to get into it. That's why we, as old people, can give blood to everybody else, but we can only get it from people that's like us. That means we're the only non-recessive people on the entire planet. Facts, that's it. So they have to do things like vaccines. They have to do things to reduce what we naturally are. We are better. What makes us not is when we reduce ourselves to allow people that feel they aren't to reach our point and then surpass us and act like we was never in the lead. This is what Negroes is doing. This is what these Freemasonic Negroes have been perpetuating on humanity since we fell asleep. Look, indeed, Wolfram and Eichenbach in Percival. Percival was the story of the Grail Knights, but specifically there was a story specifically on Percival and how he went throughout the world and all of that. He was the one that found the Grail, right? Tells us that the first account of the Grail written in confused pagan writing, that's Arabic, or Moravic, excuse me, Kufic. Arabic wasn't coined Arabic until after T.E. Lawrence coined them Arabs, and that was in 1914. Therefore, some Moorish voyages on the Atlantic may not have been entirely unrelated to the Grail. Canadian archaeologists and historians are uncountably hostile to the Celtic and Norse visitations of North America. The Celts, the Vikings, Moors. Look it up. Even through the written documents, ruins, artifacts supported willing to Bass also the pre-Columbian transatlantic achievement, despite the fact there are no known pre-Columbian documents to prove the Bass voyages and settlements. Okay? Before North America before Columbus, just as many other mariners did. I have nothing against the Bass, but I cannot understand the exclusive Bass favoritism among Canadian scholars, because that's white people trying to inject themselves into ancient history, which they did not exist in, as the proprietors. When we think of the Bass, though, we should remember they also lived in the Pyrenees region. What did Napoleon say? He said that Africa stops at the Pyrenees, right? That's what Napoleon said. So that means the original Bass of the Albigensians and the Cathars and everything they talk about, they all talk about Moors. Just that were Christians. There's another faction. Well, before I get to that, let me get to this. So that's the Grail. So the Grail really is the Sangreal, which is really the ancient bloodline that comes from the original Asiatic black man and woman consolidated as the Moabite or the Moab, right? And they, being the progenitors of modern society, of the modern world, right, had to be put to the back and put to the sleep. So the other aspects of their children, their progeny, their so-called variant, their genetic variants, would have a chance to have society. So we would leave a society, and then they would move into the ruins and then see us on the walls, and then we become their gods, and then they start to emulate what they think we was doing or whatever. Meanwhile, we done set up a whole nother society, whole nother mega civilization, and just check in on them every so often, right? But now these niggas done went crazy. They think we was cutting people's heads off. You know what I'm saying? They they cut people's heads off. They're going crazy. So we got to shut the whole society down. Remember? That was what the Dark Ages was. That's what we did to them the last time we shut it all down. Right? This is from another book. In the 8th century AD, the Moors, i.e. natives of Mauritania in northern Africa, okay, we're going to get into Mauritania and North Africa in a minute, invaded Spain. Remember, there was no Spain in the 8th century, so what they're really talking about are the lands that were connected to Rome, okay, which were basically the Astartan kingdoms, or the kingdoms that allegedly were connected to the so-called Roman savior Christian knight Prester John, which is just another Freemasonic allegory for the Pope, which is just another version of the Sabaean, Ethiopian, Roman Freemasonic doctrine to do away with the original so-called Christians, because Prester John and them was connected to Ethiopia. And remember, the Sabaean Ethiopians were the ones that set up Rome in the first place. And these original Ethiopians that helped set up Rome through Sabia, who created the Queens of Sheba, were actually kicked out of India because they were the ones that were dealing with the cows and drinking the urine and the feces out of the cows' asses. Look it up. So they got kicked out of that for that bestiality, and then wound up invading Ethiopia in the early centuries, and then basically moved the kingdom from Liabella with the dark Turkanian Ethiopians, who were called the Turkana. Looked them up in Ethiopia, took them over, and then moved the capital to Axum, and then established what we understand as Coptism today, which is another form. And then out of Coptism comes Roman Christianity. Got it? That's why I don't like dealing with Moors, because we could just run it all down to them. Run it all down to them and show them how they trade in their own people today. Anyway, as the people of North Africa were the neighbors of the Egyptians and became custodians of the Egyptian culture, which led them spread considerable portions of Africa, Asia Minor, Europe. During their occupation of Spain, the Moors displayed a considerable credit grandeur of African culture and civilization. So therefore, all so-called African, what you understand, cultures and civilizations and stuff, had relationships with the greater Moorish Empire. That, as you see, was all over the world. Islam, that's right, more the Tewahedo. That's why they hate on the Tewahedo bloodline. That's why Rasulullah and them. Rasulullah was the one that won the war, but Haile Selassie was the one that got the credit. You see what I'm saying? They be hating. Be hating on the Moors. Be hating. Right? Science of learning were cultivated and taught in schools of Cordoba, Toledo, Seville, Saragossa, and attained such celebrity that their parent Egypt attracted students from all over the Western world, because we are Egypt. Egypt is wherever we at. Look, in addition, the Moors kept up constant contact with Mother Egypt, that they had established the caliphates not only at Baghdad and Cordoba, but at Cairo and Egypt, right? But remember, these Cairo and Egypt is over here. You're talking about all of the land from over here over there. And we can prove it. The congressional record already said it. Right? So the Moors being the custodians, while everybody else was converting to Christianity and going into pagan Freemasonic orders and doing all of the stuff they was doing and all of this stuff, we was preserving it. We was moving civilization forward. We was making sure to keep our foot on these dirty people necks, because we knew what they was up to. And so there had to be specific laws to stop us from commiserating and actually formulating and keeping our independence. That's what this whole thing is about. You can't live with people who live off of you. You know what I'm saying? They do not and have never had our, as a people, best interests in mind. We've always provided for them. So much so that they created a crypto society on top of ours. it's not a mystery why we're the most so-called hated. It's because we are the ones who always maintained our ancient customs over what's going on at the moment. And so, like any society, there comes a time when they become disenfranchised with it. Like what we're taught in the Nation of Gods of Earths about the 30% satisfied, 70% dissatisfied, 70% satisfied. There's always going to be a portion of the population that feels like they're not receiving what they're supposed to receive. But in terms of the ancient times, it was even greater because you had slaves that were grandfathered in and then decided to go into a system by which they could control the outcome against their own people by allying themselves with the ones that they freed and then put them in control over their states as opposed to their own. Don't he look just like Stephen from Django? Wasn't Stephen the one who owned the plantation? Wasn't Stephen the one that owned all of them black people? And the white people was just what? Whipping them and brutalizing them, and Carl Candy was his face. Just like in The Banker, in that movie The Banker with the Falcon and Nick Fury, they had to get the white man to be the face for the bank, right? Only thing, they was trying to help their people. This dude come from the Anthony Johnson stock. That stock of Moors that just got fed up and decided, well, we just gonna go into the system and do what we got to do to put these devils in position for us and give them aspects of their own autonomy. And then they flipped it on them. See the knee? This is a Templar symbol. This, whenever you see Michael standing on the chest of the devil, right? This is another version of Kali. When you see Kali standing on the body of the man with her tongue out. Because all of the British Freemasons who are English Catholics are all what do you call it? Sikhs on the low. They all worship Kali and Shiva and all of that. Britain comes from Beretane or Beretania. And Beretania was another name for ancient India. Islam. So they be throwing spells. They be making us think we leaving one order and going into something new, and they all this tentacle in the same octopus. That's why we're not supposed to follow the pale gods of Europe. These are the pale gods of Europe. This is Kukulkan Khan, like I showed you in the last joint. This is the entity that they are exercising in their rituals. When they appease the American gods and their little sacrifices and stuff, Kukulkan Khan is one of the main ones getting the blood trust. And then he's the one that they put over the KKK. That's one of the mysteries. They got a 101, just like we got the Circle 7 Quran. They got the Chloron. And just like we got 101s, they got 101s. You know what I'm saying? And in their 101s, they say that the mystery of the Ku Klux Klan, or what it truly means, lies in the South. Lies in the southern corridor. Where's Veracruz? Where's Palenque? Where's Tehuantepec? The South, right? And what they call the South in the Freemason talk is referred to as the Southern jurisdiction. When you hear them use the term Orient, this is happening in the Orient. That's another code for America. The knee represents the fealty. They're pledging fealty to Rome. When the knight and the squire is knighted, right? He gets on one knee and the female knights him. That's why they're inverted, because the female is holding the phallus. The male is wearing the dress in the form of the kilt. So in the ritual, in the police brutality thing, they're being knighted. When they use the sword, which is the baton, to make the subject kneel. It's still submission. They're training you to submit to the abuse instead of rising up and stopping it. This is the original. These are the people that came over from Tartary. Okay? This is the book that not only proves it, but gets into why and how the woolly mammoths and the mastodons wound up here. Going all the way back to time immemorial, because they was always here. But he brought more with him, because that was the custom of the ancient world. Because the children of Carthage, those who were descended from Carthage, would always have the elephant. And Tartary, again, of that era, was also connected to Carthage through trade. And when ancient Carthage broke up in Rome, or after Rome fell to the hands of the Moors, the descendants again, those Moorish clans or tribes of Barbary and Tartary, established a block system to keep them locked up in Europe. These people that came, that they call Native Americans, again, then amalgamated later in history with Caucasian people specifically, and they created laws for them to be able to adopt the land of the original so-called Indians that they lost the war to over 2,000 plus years ago, or back in the 13th century. So if you can give blood to everybody else in the world with this blood type, but you can only receive your blood from somebody like you, but you could give it to everybody else, that means your blood was there to help bring about everybody else. So I got to get you to not like yourself, like your blood, like your hemoglobin, so that way you'll frivolously give it up to me. You see what I'm saying? And so you can't do that because melanin itself is reactive to its whoever it encompasses. So it manifests what you want. But it happens at such a subtle level you don't even realize it. So I'm proof to you. You be sick, and then one day you don't be. You got a headache, and then one day you just don't have it no more. Right? Got a stomach ache, one day you just don't have that stomach ache no more. Whereas other people, they got to go to the doctor. They got to, you know what I'm saying? They got to do a lot of different things to get right. But some of us, what, we be doing the self-diagnosis. Damn, I had too much bread. I gotta stop eating bread. You know what I'm saying? Like, we be doing it like that. And then we stop, and then what happened? You get better, right? That's your melanin. That's like venom. That's your melanin talking to you. Like, yeah, I can't mess with the bread. But you think it's you. But you got to understand your melanin is across your whole body. It's in and around every organ of your body. We don't even get it. That's why it's $4.80 a gram. And where did they get the money? Where did they get the melanin to do this from? Planned Parenthood. They got to deal with them. Look it up. Where they get all the aborted fetuses, especially from the black people, because it's white people that call and donate it so they have enough money to specifically abort black babies, so-called black babies. There's a recording. I saw it on YouTube. There was a recording once where this dude called specifically. They recorded it. He specifically, I want this to go to the abortion of black children. And you know who supports that more than anybody? Black Lives Matter. See? It's not about, I'm not talking about a woman's right to her body. I'm not talking about none of that. I'm talking about the result. Not get into the politics and the individual choices and the this is the societal discrepant whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the brass tacks. Once it's done, this is where it's going. This is who's getting it. Remember, we just read the Moors were the keepers of so-called Egypt, right? What they calling Egypt. Ancient Egypt was Tamaray by the Egyptians, Tamarikan, right? Tamarikan, Tamaray. I can get into it. And of the root of this, there is Marak. See? T-M-R. T-M-R. M-R. M-R. K-N. See? If we just going by the verb, I mean the consonants. Consonants. M-R. M-R. Right. Just like in Barry Fell's book, Saga America, they found the oldest mosque in the world, they're saying, in Nevada, and inscribed on the map that it described the land that it was around that encompassed the whole of the country. On it, they wrote M-R. Not N-D, like Indian. Not K-M-T, Kemet. Like, yes, okay, you can call it that. Kemetin, okay, that all right. But that's like saying Comesian. Or why not just say Moor? Because that's what they were. Because the Moors were the high priest of Anu, and Anu was the high priesthood of Anpu, who is the so-called Zolo dog from America, who they call Anubis. Chem meaning like chemical or alchemical. Okay? So wait. So when we look in the root of these organizations, like I said, that have already been hijacked, in the outset, like they didn't even wait. They didn't even wait to show their colors. It was like, okay, we're burning stuff up, get the white girls out there to trash the stores and do all of this, whatever, and we're gonna go hard. And we're gonna go with the rainbow and everything. And then when you go on their website and then you read what they're actually about, they're just another totalitarian group that not only is funded by George Soros, who may or may not even be a real person. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely an entity, but but when you read this stuff, this is what they're about. We are self-reflexive. We do work required to dismantle the cisgender. Cisgender means cis is again, my queen told me, is the Latin for man. But see how they even trying to flip it where man, they trying to call you a sister, right? So cisgender privilege, meaning a traditional nuclear family. We want to dismantle that. So that means what? The man got to go. Cisgender privilege and uplift black trans folks, especially black trans women. So this is about gay black men, because a trans woman is a gay man, right? who continue to be disproportionately impacted by trans antagonistic violence. So they're saying now that these black people have been being murdered, not because, so heterosexual black males, which are the predominant ones, get murdered, right, by these police or whatever. They're not to be the ones focused on. The ones to be focused on is the black trans murders. So that's why we got to get them killed and hung. You understand? To justify this thing. The same way the Jews was like, okay, well, we need to be the chosen people, so we need an antagonist. So the Nazi version of us is going to be the oppressor, and then they're going to oppress these ones, so that way we could set ourselves up in the future to have our own state. This is exactly what they're doing. We practice empathy. We encourage comrades. See, comrades? Right there. Communism, Marxism. Right? What does that have to do with nationality of black people? What does that have to do with the upliftment of black people? How is that going to help you spiritually? How is communism going to help the so-called black community? With the intent to learn about and connect with their contexts. What? We make our spaces family friendly and enable parents to fully participate with their children. We dismantle the patriarchal practice that requires mothers to work double shifts so that they can mother in private even as they participate in public justice work. We disrupt Western prescribed nuclear family structure. That ain't got nothing to do with the white man. We are the nuclear family. The nuclear family is the original man and woman. That's why Elijah Muhammad put the symbol of the nucleus atom on the front of the theology of time. We are the nucleus of America. The original man, woman, and child. They trying to destroy that. And these black lesbians is the ones that's on the front page letting them do it. The same way Angela Davis, right? And what's her name? Shirley Chisholm, right? All of the rest of them. Right? And then on the male side, who did you have? You had Al Sharpton, right? And there was another one, real Uncle Tom. Bobby Rush, right? All of these ones that's just on the other side doing this. Holding up the party line. Then Jesse Jackson, thank you, that's the one. Rainbow Coalition, see? It went from Nation Time to the Rainbow Coalition. All within the bullets that shot Malcolm, Martin, Bobby, and John. All in between that, we done went into the Rainbow Coalition, and that's what happened, right? And that's when it became about gay rights. That's when they welcomed all of the homosexuals in that they had been going to the rituals with through the whole situation. These are your leaders. These are the people. We got Push, Core, SNCC, all of that. FBI, all of that, especially the Christian ones. The Christian ones definitely. But the Panthers, the grassroots organizations, the Panthers, the Crips, and all of that, that started with the Moors. They co-opted all of that and turned it gay, put the homosexuals in, and then that becomes what it's about. So now black rights, your rights now are nil because you and me as so-called black males, we're the problem now. So they use the so-called killings of black males, right, to talk about how black women need to get away from black men and they need to be with cuckold white men, trans, or gay men. Because that is the new black community. You understand? When they talk about Black Lives Matter, these are the black people they're talking about. People who have purposely made themselves colorable. This is the new thing now. That's why they put the census out before it was happening. So they know. Because we know that the Black Lives Matter thing, what that really is terrorism and all that. We know that. That's the Republican, that's the Democratic Party. All that money that people send it to them, to the Democratic Party through Act Blue, which was also connected to the Blue Act, signed by your boy, Barry Soetoro. Yep. You got to get away from them people. Those is the new white people. Those are going to be those are the ones that they're going to try to, again, help distract and move away from the central line. As the luminists say, they're going to use them to flatten the curve. Their little sayings and their little groups. Yeah. But at the head of this is these black women. But look at the actual numbers. You know, they love using graphs and numbers, right? But look at the actual numbers. By most measures, black fathers are just as involved with their children as other dads in some living situations, or more so, according to the new report from the National Center for Health Statistics. This is why they need the black man out there. Because he's actually there. Fed 8 meals with their children daily, 78.2%. 12%, the highest of any of the fathers. The black man, in every category. In every category. Mm-hmm. In every category. But again, everybody get their posts from mainstream media, TV shows, and the person in their life that abused them. And so they amplify that to make it every black man. Therefore, they're practicing white supremacy on their own people. I've been screwed over in my life by many black people. I've been called nigga in my life by many black people. People who identify with the term black. That don't necessarily mean that I look at all black people as the negative ones. I've been mistreated by Caucasian people too. The difference is they are from a social class that is used to psychologically, physically, spiritually, and emotionally oppressing me. I come from the class that was done to. So I have to know the difference between how the oppressor acts and what his ways are and what my own people are based on the reactionary aspect that comes from living under 244 years of oppression. Because I was born pagan just like them. But my soul was born free, which is why it yearned and moved towards freedom in the physical world. You understand? To the point where I don't have to deal with certain things because I've accepted that aspect of it for me. But what they want us to do is accept the fact that we have to exist with them. And all of this is showing me is that we're moving towards a world where they will not exist. And any so-called original people trying to help them stay here is going to be the first ones out. So again, all of this stuff about black men. So this also destroys the myth then of black people killing more black people killing more white people than anybody else, because there's that narrative going around by a bunch of RBG agents online and all of that, pumping that garbage from another fake statistic, right? This debunks that, because there's no way that these men is home with all of their kids and taking care of them and being involved in stuff, and at the same time out here shooting black people, shooting white people, and going to work and selling drugs and rapping and playing ball. Like, come on, man. Like, come on, man. Exactly. So this debunks all of that. So this now shows exactly who the enemy of the so-called Black Lives Matter is. It's them. It's us. It's the so-called heterosexual black man. He's the problem for everybody. We want his sperm. We want his children, right? But we also want him to be like almost an action figure. We could just take them out, play with them, and put them back. That's what we want. So I can't get a man, so I'm gonna lock one up. I'm gonna become a cop and just start locking them up, and then having a baby as COs. That was an epidemic in Rikers a couple of years ago. Look that up. All of the female CEOs in Rikers, there was a whole sting when they got them all out because they was all having babies for all the inmates in it. More. Yeah, this is what's going on. Look it up. This is the byproduct of crypto slavery that's now become up. The original Whig Party started as a squire party, meaning a group of young knights under the Moorish knights, under what was called the Privy Member Council, which was under an ancient Moorish, I guess you could say magic, but I don't like using that because you can't really prove that. But they were into the ancient arts now, going back to like the Hyborian age and stuff like that. They preserved that. That's why they was all into that. And they started what was called the Whigs. And the Whigs was there as basically ceremonial dress at the time. And it was a big battle between them because they didn't want the white boys who were the Mameluke slaves under them to be able to dress and wear, the stuff that they did. So that's when they split. So the white butler class, right, were the ones today that you would look at as like George Washington, them type people, just like that. Anyway, moving up in history in America now, when they wanted to seize control after Manifest Destiny, they knew they was going to go to war with us, the Mauritanians and all that. So they had to unify behind the joint. So they invented the term white to apply to them because the whites of the day, right, were among the Moorish clan of the Alawite. The Alawite. So when you say, oh, there's the white man or the white man back in 1700, like you wasn't necessarily expecting to see a white, you was expecting to see a turbaned down Moor of the Alawite dynasty that was making these white boys through Colorados and Mamelukes pay tribute to be free on land. That's right. The true whites. They were, again, WIGHT whites, which were, by definition, unfortunate creatures who were punished under law. So Horace Greeley recommended the name Republican Party for the Red Men Whig Party. Because remember, they were the red men. They were the pink, ruddy men. So these pink, ruddy men decided to adopt the Republican Party, which was, again, the name of the original party that was running everything in the original so-called republic that was founded by us against slavery. You see? For the members, they recommended white people. Horace Greeley recommended the name white people in the Free Union to oppose the old Mohammedan religion, Islamism, which was dictatorship, slavery, and brutality and injustice to all the red women and all of the other women that were under them who approved their undertaking, which is where the term Anuit Kioptis comes from. The so-called white woman from the colonies of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, at the aid of the priesthood, organized a society of the Knights of Columbus under the KKK. Here they proclaimed the birth of the new white baby boy and his immaculate virgin birth mother for the age of progress for the Albions. And from the famous title, Albion Woman, earned for organizing, right, Columbus under the Knights of the KKK, right, which was the Mother Superior, Queen Victoria, sisters and daughters of the American Revolution, who had overthrown the Moorish nation. These are the white women that are paired with all of these so-called rich black celebrities or whatever today. The same order, you understand? They all working together. They all down with it. Look, a Southern planter. Now, the Southern planters were actually rich so-called black people. That's this dude. Excuse me. Yeah. Don't let them fool you. They make you think he's the butler, he's the slave. No, he's the rich Southern planter that's playing the Masonic game with him and everybody. We expect them to go away or through ages, or at least give them some sign that they knew they were free. Except they were very quiet and serious, more obedient than they had ever been. We saw no change in them, right? Then he says, these are all the ones that they captured. But this is in 1866. They work well when paid, which is a universal remark by Gilmer in Virginia Senate, February 17, 1866. The freedmen opinion merit the special regardful consideration of the all right in the state. As a class, they are docile, humble, and confiding. Has been their nature all in their past, such as their nature now. A Confederate veteran and second in command of the Ku Klux Klan, and questioned by the U.S. KKK Commission the U.S. KKK Commission, which means that they was one time a part of the United States government. You understand what I'm saying? They behaved so well, but it was not uncommon in Georgia that no race on earth relieved under such circumstances would have behaved so well. These was all of the broken Negroes that after the war and all of that by 1866 have been bombed out and all of that and was now being listed as contraband. You see what I'm saying? And was being put under this new Reconstruction system that they are now, slaves or ex-property of this so-called war, which was really a continuation of the destabilization of the entire country after the New Madrid earthquake of 1812. Much of these battles weren't fought. They actually were reenactments, or what they call battles, that they actually passed off as real. And then wrote in their history happened, and then since then have been doing reenactments to drill it into the minds of these stupid white people that have grown up under this illusion that they know deep down is not real. And that has driven them insane as a so-called race. That's why we're not supposed to be with them or interbreed with them like that at this point, because they're going through their transition. And they can't do that if we are always there blocking it, and we can't let them use us to do so. But yeah, because these Black Greek societies, again, a lot of these what they call HSBCUs that was built by these so-called white people and all that for their mulatto children. A lot of that is BS too. A lot of them was there before the white people got there. But they ran all of them out during the coup d'etat and then repurposed the buildings and then refined it to their liking and then created destruction now where in order to come into any of that, you had to go through their system, because at this time, there's still two different Americas. There's ours, you know what I'm saying? And then there's theirs. Theirs meaning everybody that's down with them that wasn't here with us from the actual beginning. So there was still connections between Moorish countries and cities. How many people know that there's a Baghdad in California? Up to the brother. All of the stuff they be talking about happening in other places be right here. So not only are the so-called Black Lives Matter thing is in that the Antifa, which is also another division of what they call Chaz, which is an autonomous zone that these white people done established in Washington, of which they done just found a dead black man in this zone. And again, this is all so-called Black Lives Matter affiliates, and the Chaz, they're the white boys that's really down for the black people movement and blah blah blah. Harps and strings. It's all fake because it's not in their nature to want to see us as a people move beyond them. The world structure as we know it was established to keep everybody normal, or to keep everybody on a certain level, and all governments have agreed and conspired to do that, regardless to what they talk about, what they saying. But what we're seeing is that no matter what they trying to flip, it's not working. It always goes back to the Moors, and it always gets revealed with such a frequency that nothing that they are putting out is stable. Everything that they're putting out is fluid. This chick literally walked up to Don Lemon on the street and let him have it. Called him an Uncle Tom, sellout, all of that. Also, quick historical correction: Uncle Tom is not the bad guy. Uncle Tom is the good guy in the book. Sambo was the bad guy, the coon Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom defended the black woman to his death and the black family to his death. Sambo was the one that ratted on him. Historical fact number 2, though, Sambo is also the name of the god of Southeast Asian communities and cultures like the Naga and the Champa and the extension of the Bomampa in what they call Southeast Asia, known as the Mon people, all of these Asiatic Moors. So here go, again, shutting down the whole Indian thing. Yeah, so when you see these guys and they talk about Prester John and all of that, they're taking that back to the ancient Christian kingdom, alleged Christian kingdom, that was left over from the original Grail. Here go the Grail story of the true so-called Messiah or whatever, and they lived amongst themselves and were eventually overtaken by the Moors and the Islamic or whatever. And they preserved them, and they were the seed to the Astra kingdom that was left in old Spain, so-called New Spain over there, which led to the establishment of the kingdoms of Castile, Aragon, Navarre, which led to the destruction of everything and the creation of the fake races and all of that, due to the commingling now of the Spanish and the war between the Spanish and what was left of the Moorish Empire, as it was now converting into the Spanish Empire and all of that. All between the years of 1492 to 1511, and then from 1511 to about 1666, and then from 1666 to about 1774. And then I would say the full push came between 1774 and 1791. And everything from 1791 to 1812 was basically just now the fracturing of the true American Republican form of government, in which now America was now localized into whatever areas the original Americans could occupy. These areas like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the Seminole places and all of that, because these were the lands that we fought for. while the other so-called blacks let themselves be absorbed into what became the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution, which followed the Civil War, was all the same thing. The Industrial Revolution was the continuation of the Civil War by destroying the agricultural means and binding up what was left of the true American Republic, and now running everything officially out of Washington, D.C., post 1871. Therefore, everything after 1871 was illegal because it was not mandated by the original people in the Republic and the original American government that was not founded in 1791 to 1776 or 1774, but through 223 BC. Facts all laid down by the illustrious Hanobe, who was the continuation of the Great Barker line that came all the way down to us from the time when we were ancient super Canaanites who dwelled in Moab and decided that it was better that we actually live a civilized way of life as opposed to serving these disgusting pre-creation entities, deities like Ralphie and the rest of them, which you could read about in the book of Enoch, in the book of Giants, in a book called Giants, and the actual Bible. So again, that's that. So whatever they want to say they are within that, this whole little pseudo-Christian road is all Roman. If it's Roman, if it's Christian, the way that they are depicting it, if it's Islamic, if it's Islamic Roman, which is Sunni religious Christian, basically, then all of that is Roman. All of that. The Jewish thing, if they got if they reading from the Talmud, that's Roman. You know what I'm saying? The Talmud is more important to them than the Torah, then that's Roman. Because technically the Talmud again is just like some magical stuff that they use to do their little crazy rituals. But this is from an actual Moor / so-called Indian, American Indian. Peace to him. Mahir Abdal Razak El. And he is the Cherokee Blackfoot American Indian who is a Muslim. And I am known as Eagle Sunwalker, and I serve as pipe carrier warrior for the Northeastern Band of the Cherokee Indians in New York City. These are the other Muslims in our groups for the most part, and many people are aware that Native American contact with Islam began over 1,000 years ago by some early Muslim travelers who visited us. Some were Muslim travelers ended up living amongst our people. For the most Muslims, non-Muslims today, this type of information is unknown and has never been mentioned in any of the history books. There are many documents and treaties, legislation, and resolutions that were passed between 1600s, 1800s that show Muslims were in fact here and were active in the communities where they lived. Treaties and peace of friendship, which was signed on the Delaware River in 1787 between the signatures of Abd al-Kaq and Muhammad ibn Abdullah. The treaty details the continued right and existence of the community in the areas of commerce, maritime shipping, and the current government that at the time, which was in accordance with Islam. That was the original American government that was a part of what they called the Iroquois or Haudenosaunee Confederacy, which was in the family of nations that went all the way back to the original maxims of law established by the universal law of science and government that was established again by the ancient so-called Carthaginians who eventually fell to their so-called Roman half-children. According to the federal court case from the Continental Records, we helped from the breath of life in the newly framed Constitution and the documents presently in the National Archives as well as the Library of Congress. You have access to these records. The state of California read the Moore Sundry Free Act of 1790. Okay? So what are these so-called Indians or Aboriginals? What are they talking about? What are they so upset about? Where's your pipe carrier? Where's your firekeeper? Who's doing that amongst that? Who's the L in your tribe that you hiding, acting like don't exist? And if you don't have one, then are you really because this brother putting it all out there. You know what I'm saying? He's uniting all of us. You understand? This shuts down half the YouTube stuff that these jokers is putting out. Because it's all there to divide and keep everybody away from the eventual fact that you, as a so-called American citizen, are connected to the original republic that was founded again in 223 BC, annexed by the Born Stone of Hanno Bay, written about in the book, in the analog that he wrote called Periplus, that is also listed in the National Archives. Therefore, it's a legal fact. He was a Bey, just like these Beys and Eels in this class today. So that's our ancestor. Same way they claim George Washington, all that. That's what we're doing. And then that whole republic was then organized into an empire, almost, that spanned both sides of the world, but specifically along the 33rd parallel. And along that 33rd parallel, however, north or south of that, influence of this empire exacted the cultural expansion of humanity up until 1492. The Boom. I will go into the more detail about the various tribes and languages to which some influence Arabic, Persian, Hebrew words. Almost all of the tribes' vocabulary include the word Allah. The traditional dress code for the Indian women include the kima and the long dress for men, standard as turbans or long tops, which come down to the knee. If you look at my old books, the Cherokee clothing up until 1832, right when this first Indian Settlement Act came through, you would see the men wearing turbans and the women wearing long head coverings. The last Cherokee chief, whose name was Ramadan ibn Wati of the Cherokee, which was the Ananawiya, which was the Tasalagi, was in when? 1866. The same year we read about those Moors that they put into docileship after so-called freedom. How could they be freeing these Moors in 1866 when this Moor right here was the free Cherokee protecting the old Republican government in 1866? But wasn't 1866 the Civil War? You see none of it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that these guys is all playing. They're all serving Rome. They all want to be, Ethiopians or whatever else, and there's nothing wrong with being that. They have a culture of a people that basically have never been conquered. They just helped inspire an empire that brought the humanity to the brink of ruin. All of these people have fallen into their specific duty because this is what they can't leave anything to chance, man. You understand? They can't leave anything that could go wrong, might go wrong. So they got to make sure that they get it. So they got to make sure they control everything. You know what I'm saying? So the opposite of what I'm showing you on screen would be this today. This is what these people are doing today. This is Bill Gates. This is Bill Gates at the Pride in 63 or something, or 73 or whenever it was. Look it up. I'm saying to him, that's him. Because he's a girl. That's what I'm trying to say. This whole thing is reversed. We gotta stop looking at the devil with the eyes he wants us to see him through. Put on our own damn glasses. Like none of these people are what you think. They're the opposite. Why would they lead somebody like this guy? Why would this guy be put in this position? Because he comes from a long line of Nazis that have worked this thing to perfection. And part of the Hitler Youth Program was creating what they call transgenerational children, where they actually took boys and turned them into girls and girls and turned them into boys. Look at the devil with them. Look at the devil right here with them. These are the people you got to worry about. This is Parsons. This is the direct descendant of Jacob Astor. This black man right here. This is one of the richest men in all of the world. This is the guy who they sunk the Titanic, they say, to get rid of him, Heisenberg, and Strauss. All so-called Moors, so-called black-blooded, blue-blooded people who was being phased out or working with all these other devils, the Nazi regimes that was coming in and shutting everything down through the Southern District, through the Southern Jurisdiction District, the Scottish Rite, the Lima, all of that blood right, baby-eating crap. Yes, yes. This is Bill Gates' pops. Look at these people. This Ted Turner. These are the people that have run your world, my world, your world. All of these people. You know how many times you was a little kid watch Barbara Walters? You don't remember what she was talking about. You know what she said and how that affected you as a child. Just having this bitch on lying to you every day. That's why half of us don't trust women now. It's because of this crap. Same thing with women. Grow up listening to Tom Brokaw. People. These are the people that have been selling us out. These are the people that's came out of Nazi Germany. And then before that, these were the ones that helped set up the Nazi party through Montauk Point. This is facts. This is not it can't be conspiracy theory, because the term conspiracy theory is a CIA creation under Order 1035, 360, 36 or 360 or something, which itself is a mind control trick. That's what I'm saying. So again, I'm not asking you to, stretch your mind outside of what it actually is. All we know of these people are what they have been positioned in history to be to you. But you don't know these people. You don't know what they talking about. Look at the ritual in this. This is what they want. These are the imperial colors of the Moorish Empire. Do you understand that? Anytime you see them used officially or somebody wearing it like that, that's real. That's a signal to you. Look at the seal of the state that the dude is killed in. Look on it. It's Minerva standing on the neck, standing on the neck of the defeated Moor. Excuse me, Virginia. Standing on the neck of the defeated Moor, but he got the purple one on. Because red and green make what? See? The war is with everybody else. Because all of these people are related. All of these people are working together. None of these people, other than the people that you speak to every day or whatever that you know specifically, you can't speak to them or get a certain vibe, whatever, they down with it. And it's been that way from the beginning. I told you, these people are communists and Marxists. That has nothing to do with communists. Everybody hating on capitalism. Everybody hate. You know how many communist governments have fallen? Look it up. Think I'm lying. Look it up. Look how many communist governments that have fallen in the last 30 years. Regardless of what you say about the United States, it's still here. Because the people want it to be. They want it to change, but they don't want it to change that much. They don't want it to change if it means they have to change. America is so racist that if you tell them that they're racist, they take it like you saying something against America. That's the country you live in. So if you don't understand that, there's something wrong with you, because that's what it's been like here. That's how it's been on Earth for me for the past 40 plus years. You understand? These people are willfully working Freemasonic live fire exercises on the populace, white and black, together. Because what binds them is that they're gay. They're all gay. Or want to be women, or want to be men. You don't know. So they want you to support them how they are, even though they couldn't support themselves as they were. Something wrong with you if you get into all of that. That's not my culture. That's not my fight. My fight is this. This is my fight. This is the fight that I'm dealing with. Erasing this from the mind so my son and my daughter and my son or your children ain't got to grow up and deal with that. That's my fight. So until the gays and whoever want to come up with a strategy for that, no, their strategy for that is get rid of the men. Black women, you're with us now. And everybody else doesn't matter. That's it. So again, those original women that's not with that, they got to stand up and say something, because they're making it seem like that's what everybody down with. You know what I'm saying? So there has to be some record of your protest. And I don't mean protests like out there. I mean protests like something that you have yourself, you're doing, that come from you. You say, no, I'm not going to support this. I'm not down with that. I'm not going to go to this Black Lives Matter dinner. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna go to this crisis actor audition. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna blow up this building. I'm not gonna set fire to this because, you know, I'm trying to get rid of over 240 some odd years of guilt. I hate myself so much, so that's why I graft myself to this gay white man and I'm putting myself with this other gay white man. You know what I'm saying? These people are crazy. They're all crazy. Because they're all miseducated, because the history they've been given is a lie. It's all a lie. So the only truth is what you inject into it. Therefore, the prophet said what? Declare your nationality. He didn't say declare the nationality. You know what I'm saying? He said declare yours. Whatever that is. But if you don't know, what you gonna do? You're gonna do what somebody tell you to do. You're gonna go to church. You're gonna become an Israelite. You know what I'm saying? You're going to go right into the systems that they got set up for you. When all of these systems were set up by Scottish Rite Freemasons that have now, since the Albert Pike statue, I was really surprised about that. I was really surprised that they ripped that down. That is a symbol for real, if you don't know. He is the head homosexual god for these Freemasonic sodomites. He is the one that they all Morals and Dogma. He's the one that wrote, I'm blatantly lying to you about all this. But y'all gonna have to do it if y'all want to keep the if y'all want to raise the Antichrist. This is what he was on. And he was the founder of the KKK. So he was the head of the Southern jurisdiction. Allegedly, Gene Armstrong, or one of them fake astronauts, allegedly took the flag, his flag, which is the Southern jurisdiction flag, up to the moon with them. That's how much they love this white man. And for them to rip his statue down, basically said to me that there's some sort of open war now. It's open season now on the Southern jurisdiction, Scottish Rite Masons. The Scottish Rites now is the next one to go down the pipe because the Knights of Malta already been smashed down. They already killed their Grand Master a couple months ago. So he off the board. They already shut down the Queen. She off the board. Look at what's happening. They already got the Pope. He's off the board. So that's the Queen, the Bishop, right? And the Knight. All off the board. Right? All positioned through the White Knight, who is now Drum, and the King, who is now this dude, John. Both pumping the Grail Christ ritual rhetoric to give them the God power to get all the sober-minded Negroes to believe that they all are for peace and humanity and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really the root of all of this. So not only are they importing all of these different Africans to come over here and do what they're doing, this is also done to keep us from going back to the records and doing what Roman J. Israel did in the movie. That's what everybody's supposed to be doing. That's why they closed the courts, just in case. And in that movie, he had the prophet on the door, right when he walked in, to his right. So we as Asiatics who understand what Asiatic mean that you don't mean that you're not so-called African. It just mean that you coming from the real antediluvian diaspora that came out of the Pan-Asia, what they call Pangea continent, that spanned the globe, making us Asiatic from birth, giving us dominant over the entire planet, all 196,940,000 square miles. So like Bobby Hemmings said, they run around this motherfucker, but they don't own it. They can't. They can't circumnavigate this. They can't get beyond the ice wall and the thing that's on the other side of that. They still going over how is it that if we're on a flat earth, how is it that the moon is reflecting a curved shadow? Things like that. You're probably never going to figure that out. What we can figure out is what community you're going to live in that's not going to have these people around you. What private military contractor you going to contract to protect that community, and how that community is going to function under the group economics and the social charter that is established for itself. That's what America's about. So that way, if anybody come to that community, it's open war. It's not even seen as you got to send letters and stuff to come around where I'm at. Because if I see you without any type of tribute or any type of prior communication, it's taken as an act of aggression off top. Just based on your track record. Based on who you are. You can't trust no nuns, you know how many babies Mother Teresa sold? At the behest of Dr. Fauci? These people been killing thousands of millions of people for the past decades. While you was in school, he was in his little dress. Just think about how he was just going to just kill as many people as the dresses they done made him wear. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how they make these people. They make them like this. Understand? Ain't no child just born evil. No, you got to do things to them. That's why they try to get them before the womb. In the womb, they just be trying to stick things into it. Just to make it angry. Just so you come out just angry. So that, until people really ready to deal with that, everything else is trivial, man. It's not whether or not the white man's the devil at this point. It's whether or not black people realize how much of the devil they are. That's where it's at now. Anybody have any questions? Peace to Know Thyself 13. Peace to China Aboriginal. Peace to People Folk. Peace to all of the Moors, man. All everybody that ever supported me, thank you. Peace to Moorish 720. Peace to everybody, man. Peace to everybody that's ever looked out, reblogged, actually stood up with probably somebody said something stupid about me or whatever. You know, you ain't have to do it, but thanks. You know. But just know I don't care either way at this point. It's like me and the Queen are almost like silent. Some days we just be looking at the feed, like different stories come up, like damn. They said this we was crazy when this was happening, but hey, at least they seeing it now. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what it is. Like we all get this book, Lost Tribes of the Promised Land. Like I said, you can get into the Hebrew and all of that, but really the Moorish thing, to me, looking at Hebrewism through the Moorish American lens or the Moorish lens allows you to appreciate the whole thing. Because now you're not going to get so caught up in the biblical word that was written by the paper by, you know, whatever Messiah that, like all of that, man, all of that is mind control. All of that is mind control. All of that is historical interpretation that was given to you through Freemasons. So you got to remember, unless it's coming from somebody that if they're not building with you on nationality, birthright, inheritance, the divine aspect of the highest self, which is Allah, which is Islam, which again we know predates the religion that they set up through Khadijah, through the Jesuits, who just recently got them to shut Mecca down. Wasn't the Pope just having them call a prayer at the Vatican the other day? Look it up. That's what I told y'all. He done made everybody Roman Catholics now. So y'all, you got to figure it out. Go back to your own people. They mock us every day. 7-Eleven again was to constantly remind us that we the Moors was taking the 7-Eleven under the red flag, who under the red flag through the green banner, right? Who took over the descendants of William of Orange, or the predecessors of William of Orange. So this is how they do it. And 11, you understand? That's a master. That was the master number. So this was stamped in time. This is a time in which we manifested the resurrection of all humanity. Bless you. From the decadence of Rome. And all it had befell on all of us. And Rome again was the backwards version of the Moorish Empire, you can imagine. In its best. It was maybe its best as a republic. Once it became a dictatorship, it was a wrap. Because the best of the Romans came from the captured Carthaginians, who were freed by Massinissa when he helped them dethrone Hannibal. He was given a purple palliament, which was the only one given to a foreign Moor who wasn't of the original Roman Senate. But this all happened because Hannibal dishonored his agreement with Massinissa in the marrying of his daughter, Sophansiba. So, you see what I'm saying? And it had nothing to do with color. It had nothing to do with nationality. Had nothing to do with none of that. It all happened because this dude was upset that he let him marry his daughter the way he said he was going to. That's some black people shit. Real talk. That's how you know they all black people. And all of Shakespeare's plays and stuff was about that. It was all about that. These people marrying into these foreign amalgamated families that had no jurisdiction and was using this marriage to take over. That's what every Shakespeare play is about. And how people use those positions, how people who were taken captive, like Aaron and Titus Andronicus, used that to his advantage to seduce the white woman, Semiramis, the daughter of the American Revolution, to help destroy what was that? Saturnyne, which was basically another allegory to Satan, who was the Roman emperor. That happened every other week. That's like when Ray Ray was trying to was going out with Tiffany, but then she was really sleeping with Pookie, and then Ray Ray found out and shot her. That's reality. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what we're dealing with. Stories like that became the history that we live in today. All of these people that robbed the stage coaches and all that, the stagecoach people, the people that had the horses, and that was us. They was robbing us. Jesse James and the people was robbing us. Those were our towns, our banks. The more I'm gonna get the list and show the next and giving the next class of the westerns where they talk about the Moors and use Assalamu alaikum and all that in it, so you can see for yourself. So like I said, nothing ever good has come historically for any race of people, including their own, when a group of white males like this get together, because they're bonded through the trauma. They are trauma bonded to this ideal that they will never let go of. So anyone vindicating or trying to stump for them or whatever is down with them or under their control in some way. And all we can do as knowledgeable and real people is declare and separate ourselves as best we can, as best as humanly possible, without breaking down our civilization. You know what I'm saying? Y'all hear me? It's okay. So it becomes a position by which we create the necessary break in status, in structure. You know what I'm saying? We have to establish something for ourselves, because if not, it's not going to happen, man. I'm telling you. It's just not. What's up? If you have any questions, you can type it in. Purple represents the ancient Phoenician art of creating murex. Murex was the ancient dye that they created from a plant or berry that they were able to oxidize, kind of like a pomegranate berry, I think. They were able to oxidize in ancient Morocco, and it became the royal maroon or purple or navy that the royalty of the day would wear, going all the way back before the times of Solomon and all that. It was called murex. They also created a process to clean the blood with it where you would ingest it. You know what I'm saying? So it was a very high commodity. That was one of the premium exports of Tyre, or ancient Carthage, which we call Carthage. which repurposed itself as the Almoroccan Empire. Whoever we want to be the king of England. This dude could be the king of England if he want. If you want to do that, you can do that. I ain't moving to England, so you can do that if you want. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to U.S. export, import, or whatever, or acknowledging the title of the Moors, we send him something saying, look, well, you the king, but you the king of the white boys that amalgamated into the family through the house of Wetton. And according to the real law, James, who was actually descendant of Henry, actually gave birth to, was a precursor to Charles, who married into the Inca family. So really, nigga, you married into our family. So, you know what I'm saying? And you, so if you're talking about titles, you can't say, well, your title good, but my title ain't. When when the people you claiming descent from look like me more than you can't use the white pictures with me because I know what they look like. Even if you use the white pictures, let's say you want to use, oh well, like I was saying with the COVID thing, COVID connected to the Covinius family or the Coven family. That basically were the family that changed their name to Liechtenstein and all of that and became the Rothschilds and these people. These are the same people. So you could get who you want. You could say, oh, well, you know, the pictures I've got of Jesus and God is black. Well, no, is white. Well, we know about that. I'm a Moor. Like, you can't, that history works with Negroes. Like, you could say, okay, well, because then if I went to the Louvre to school and stuff, I could be like, oh, well, you know, that's true. I did read in 18, you know, in 1478, Michelangelo did do this, and I take that as truth, then he won. But all I would have to do is cross-reference that picture with what was in Russia at the time, and you see what I'm saying? Russia shut down the Renaissance. They said, no, we keeping everything black. Everybody's going to stay black. We're going to leave everything the way it is. Because we don't even believe in God. That's why people really hate Russians. They don't believe in God at all. They're atheists. And they killed their own monarchy. So they crazy. Anybody assassinate their own monarchy, they kind of cursed on an imperial level. So you don't mess with them people. So it's better. So believe me, communism is cool if you're a part of the actual ruling body. But if you're not, it's not cool, man. And they done made y'all believe that through the co-opted Black Panthers and now the new co-opted Black Lives Matter, which is really blacks, lesbians, and others. You know what I'm saying? It's something else. But yeah, they all just got it. He's claiming descent from this dude. And I told you what this dude was about. And this is an Asiatic dude. This is a melanated guy. He's holding the ancient spear technology. So, whatever, man. So again, this is God. These are the angels. This is Yakub. Yeah, the ancient battery. Thank you, Mo. Get the book Ancient Americans. They got a whole section on the batteries that we use to power the cities and all that. Anybody got any last questions? It's a magazine. It's called Ancient American or The Ancient American. I don't know if they print it anymore, but you could probably get back issues of it. I used to get it at Barnes and Nobles when you used to be able to go to bookstores and stuff. Way before the apocalypse. Anybody else? So again, I just show and prove to you there's more black men in every household that there's so-called black women and black families together. Because there's no way they could be the people that's the most, and this is beyond jail and everything else. There's no way that they could be the most present fathers of all the other racial groups, of all of them, and then still be out here doing all the crazy stuff they doing. They lying. So anybody down with that is probably BLM, and you know you don't want them crazy. Because it's another extent. I also think it's me personally. I also think it's an extension of the gay mafia. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole nother wing of that. And that somehow is tied in with the crisis acting thing, which then is bottled up with in a bow in the upper annals of the so-called Democratic Party with its rat line to the so-called Republican Party, which then is the underbelly of what Trump called the deep state, and then the 33 levels above that, and then the 33 levels below that. That's who we're really dealing with. So whatever or whoever that is, when that thing comes out, then it'll be a wrap. So just look for this guy John to bring some sort of peace treaty, or they're going to do something with Israel to bring peace, or something with that. And if that happens, that's going to be the next great sign that Trump them brought in, that these devils got their antichrist, and we're going to be able to move again further into our own thing, while all of the Black Lives Matter Negroes and collaborators and these people are herded with them. Because like I said, it's going to be about nationality. So as we close, I'm going to, this from the book called Surviving the Indian Groups of the Eastern United States. We also shut down all of the, they also shut down, like I said, a lot of the Indian reservation stuff. So a lot of those guys are about to get locked up and shut down because they're getting exposed as actually taking Moorish information and flipping it and doing stuff with it. In 1639, the first Black Moor birth was recorded in Delmarva Peninsula, near present-day Wilmington, Delaware. Moors and Turks were not considered to be slaves because of the 17th century. Their home countries were in friendship with the King of England. See? Because the King of England was a Moor, and he was also a Muslim. 1684, Moors arrived in Delaware and South New Jersey. Their ships were marooned off the coast, and many Muslims were absorbed into Indian tribes. Ain't that what the Indian wrote? The Moorish brother, Razak El, wrote earlier, right? And these are the tribes they came into. The Arawak, like didn't I tell you? I told the brother, I said, no, if your granny can't find nobody that was there before her and she's the oldest people there, she was the Arawak that they done now called Jamaican. It wasn't no Mexican-looking Indians that they done imported from wherever. The Araucana, Black Indians of Schuylkill River, New York. The Blackfoot, which is the Sissiska. The Cherokees, which is the Ananaweas. The Salagi. The Clappers of New York, which is the branches of the Haudenosaunee, and what they call Algonquin, which is really a dialect more than the people. The New York Blackfoot. The Hassananamisco. Hassan, again, meaning more. Nimpug and the Massachusetts Kickapoo. The Alaska tribes, the Periquams. Muskogee is Muskogee, or Muskogee, right? The Lenape or Lenape Bay, which was a division of the Sagamores, and the Montakas, who were connected to the Mohegans, who were connected to the Macas, and what they call the Mecca Indians, who were also the parents of the Comanche. Which then leaves us with the Mohammeds, the Mohawks, the Sauks, which is the Chicago Blackhawks, the Nanticokes, and the so-called Seminoles, which are all of the people like Duke Billy Bowlegs in it. So that's who was running this, and we was all the same people. So don't let these Jesuits flip it. And then to tell you who the enemy or the people who were freed during this time was this. Mr. President and ladies and gentlemen, on the matter of slavery, there's great confusion of thought. Just now in the American state, the American church, monarch and oligarch Europe is at war with the institution. See? Just like today. Always at war in Europe. Because over there, they fighting to be one king, and over here, we was all kings. The British Teuton was driven out from his soil. His kindred, the Dutch, Scandinavians, and Germans and Austrians have done the same. These are all of the so-called Moors who are Europeans who were connected to the draconian societies who left because they were oppressed, because the Moors over there wasn't trying to deal with the Satanism stuff that they was using to take power. And the French Celts, the Gauls, also no property in man, and Napoleon's attempt to restore the doctrine of practice of Dark Ages is sure to fail. Even the Russian despotism attacks the principle of bondage, where Alexander will liberate 30 million Caucasian slaves. So this is where all the Europeans came from, shipped over here, dropped like the pallets they drop today in the cities with the fireworks and the guns and the rocks and the bricks. But the people ain't falling for it no more. We know what it is. What the people need to do is take all that stuff and mail it back and file charges against the people that's putting it out there. It's easy. They already found out the pallets is coming from the Acme company, like in Bugs Bunny, right? This is how they think of people. They think of us like cartoons. The Acme company, and who's that owned by? Bill Gates. Who's the patent owned by? Bill Gates. Who created the disease? Bill Gates. Who'd he get the money from? CDC. His father. Yes. Yes, his father. So in the end, that's it, man. So you guys want to hit me up at houseofbell@hotmail.com. And you know, as far as your individual process or stuff like that, I'll do so. And please, you know, give me time and stuff, because this apocalypse has just made it pop. So it's like the call volume is like crazy. So you got to give me time to get back to people. You know what I mean? So at least 48 hours. We're 24, 48 hours, the most, you know, 72 at least, and then hit me back, because it's really wow. And again, man, thank you guys for the support. And thank you guys for support for adobeorganics.com, www.astra.com. Right? Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Peace.